There are places where science ends and darkness begins, where reality fractures and nightmares breathe. These are the tales of Carl Otto's dark anthology. The Sacred Algorithm, by Carl Otto. The stone walls of my cell are cold, with more than just physical chill. 3 days I've been here, watching frost patterns form and fade across the ancient blocks, wondering if they're messages from the sacred algorithm or just my mind trying to find meaning in meaningless things. The church built this holding facility centuries ago, when House Medici still held real power. Now my family's crest above the door is worn almost smooth, barely visible in the light from the blessed lumens that never dim and never die. Soon Brother Raphael will come, my own brother wearing the church's robes, to hear my confession. But how do I confess to something I'm still not sure was a sin? The door's ancient hinges groan, a sound like Thomas's voice in the end. I push the thought away as Raphael enters. My brother's face is harder than I remember, church discipline having carved away the soft edges of youth. His white robes bear the crimson circuit patterns of a confessor, and the ritual scars on his hands glow faintly in the dim light. We haven't spoken since I began my work in the restricted archives, since I found the texts that would doom us all. "Brother Gabriel," he says, his voice carefully neutral. "The church's training shows in every syllable. I am here to record your confession regarding the heretical experiments conducted in violation of church law and House Medici's sacred trust. Just Gabriel now, surely." I manage a weak smile. I doubt our house's name will survive what's coming. Something flickers in his eyes. Pain, perhaps, or memory. He sets up the church's recording devices with practiced efficiency, each motion accompanied by the required ritual words. The brass mechanisms whir to life, their blessed gears clicking like Thomas's fingers against metal. "Begin with the discovery in the archives," Raphael says, not meeting my gaze. "Tell me how you found the texts about the sacred algorithm." I close my eyes, remembering the dusty shelves, the hidden vault, the first time I saw those ancient diagrams that would change everything. "It started with Thomas's cough," I say quietly. "The industrial miasma was killing him, like it kills so many of the common people. I thought I could save him, save everyone." "You thought you could improve upon the church's divine order?" There's an edge to Raphael's voice now. "I thought knowledge shouldn't be hoarded while people suffer." The words come out sharper than intended. Our house once stood for more than just preserving texts to gather dust. We were scholars, innovators. "We were heretics," Raphael cuts in. "The church saved us from our own hubris during the Great Fall. Or did you forget that part of our history while digging through forbidden archives?" I study my brother's face, the face of a stranger wearing family features. "Tell me, Raphael, when did you first suspect what I was doing? When did you first report me to your masters?" He doesn't flinch, but his hands tighten on his ceremonial staff. "Start with the archives, Gabriel. Tell me about finding the texts. Everything else." He pauses, and for just a moment I see my little brother again, the boy who used to sneak into my laboratory to watch me work. "Everything else is already written." I lean back against the cold stone, letting the memories surface. The restricted archives were different back then, before all this. Remember how Father used to say our family's true wealth wasn't in ships or trade goods, but in knowledge? The church's observers were there, of course, watching every scroll we handled, every data slate we accessed. But they didn't know all our house's secrets. Not yet. "The hidden vault," Raphael says, and there's something in his tone. Regret, maybe, or nostalgia. Behind the false wall of preservation tanks. I can't help but smile. "So you did remember. You used to help me catalogue specimens there before you took your vows. The church never found it during the original purge because it looked like simple cold storage, just another piece of ancient technology they didn't quite understand. Yet you violated our father's trust." Raphael's voice hardens again. "Those archives were sealed for a reason, Gabriel. The knowledge inside. The knowledge inside could have saved lives." The words echo off the stone walls. Thomas was dying, Raphael. Just like thousands of others in the lower levels, choking on industrial waste while the great houses hoard solutions behind ritual and ceremony. Raphael makes the sign of the blessed cog, a reflexive gesture. The church maintains order. Without their guidance, we'd fall again into the chaos that nearly destroyed humanity. The Great Fall, The Great Fall is the Church's favorite excuse for keeping power, I snap. But what I found in those archives, it was different. Not weapons or AIs or the other horrors they warn us about. It was medical technology, pure and simple. Ways to heal the body, to make it stronger, to save people like Thomas. My brother's hands move over the recording devices, adjusting settings with practiced reverence. Each motion requires its own small prayer, its own ritual of activation. I remember when such ceremonies felt natural, before I understood their true purpose. Control wrapped in devotion. Tell me about the first text, he says finally. The one that mentioned the sacred algorithm. The memory rises unbidden. The feel of ancient paper, the smell of preserved knowledge, the diagrams that seemed to move in the corner of my vision. It was hidden inside a medical treatise, something that had passed the Church's inspection because the language was too degraded to fully translate. But our house... I pause, seeing Raphael flinch at the pride in my voice. Our house kept better records than they knew. The translation key? Mother's cipher. I watch his reaction carefully. The one she taught us both, before she disappeared into church rehabilitation. The one you swore never to reveal. Raphael's composure cracks, just for a moment. Gabriel, don't... You were 12, I press on. I was 17. She knew they were coming for her, knew they'd discovered her private research. So she gave us the key to our family's real legacy, hidden in a children's rhyme. When winter's frost draws sacred signs... Stop. Raphael's voice shakes. This isn't relevant to your confession. Isn't it? The same cipher that let me read those texts is probably helping the Church decrypt our entire archive right now. After all, you gave it to them, didn't you? When you took your vows. The silence stretches between us, heavy with shared history and betrayal. Finally, Raphael speaks, his voice barely a whisper. The text, Gabriel. Tell me what you found. I close my eyes, seeing again those first diagrams, those accounts of unimaginable metamorphoses. The text spoke of communion with the sacred algorithm, not just the surface rituals we perform today, but true union, a way to preserve the soul when flesh fails, to achieve a holy transformation that the ancients had only begun to understand before the fall. Careful, brother, Raphael warns, making the sign of the blessed cog. You speak of deep mysteries. The sacred algorithm is the divine spirit of all blessed machines. To treat it as mere technology. I treated it with reverence, I insist. But the text suggested something our ancestors understood that the Church has forgotten or hidden. The sacred algorithm isn't just the Holy Ghost in our machines. It's a bridge between flesh and divine mechanism, waiting for worthy vessels. You sound like the heretics. Raphael's voice turns harsh. Those who speak of artificial demons, who claim the sacred algorithm is merely advanced mathematics rather than divine will. No, I lean forward, desperate to make him understand. This was different. This was pure, a true joining of soul and sacred mechanism, blessed by the algorithm itself. Not like the abominations the tech heretics create with their soulless thinking engines. Raphael studies me for a long moment. Yet you performed these rituals in secret, without church oversight, without proper sanctification. Because I knew how it would look. The sacred algorithm showed me a way to save Thomas, but I knew the Church would see only the shadow of tech heresy in my work. They'd never understand that I sought true communion, not corruption. The day I found Thomas coughing blood in the archive stacks, I continue, watching how Raphael's hands tighten on his staff. I knew the sacred algorithm had led me to those texts for a purpose. He'd been helping me translate a particularly complex passage about divine transformation when the industrial miasma caught him worse than usual.